We are live, my friend.
All right. Joe, we back, man. We back with another show, man. It's summer has ended or it's about to end and maybe in the next week or so. Summer has been amazing and 2024 has been amazing so far, but definitely
Yes,
wanted to get together, catch up, and talk the evolution of marketing and the game here. But yeah, I'm excited for today.
absolutely. Well, I mean, I feel like the summer is interesting in our industry, Marcus. We
Yeah.
have like that moment where it feels like it's slowed down, but yet it's extremely busy too. So it's kind of interesting. So I mean, I feel like we didn't even get a chance to do a lot of these over the summer, even though I think we did one in July and August. But
Yeah.
now it's kind of dwindling down from that summer vibe. Yet events are picking up for the rest of the year too. So
Yeah, they are. And what's interesting is that the festival space. There's a couple festivals that are going to be coming out here later, towards the end of the year. But it's kind of shifting towards conference time.
yeah,
We have the ones that are going to be ending the year, and we'll get to that later on in the show. And so as people join and our guests join or our attendees join, first want to welcome everyone to the Evolution of Engagement, our live show here on LinkedIn with myself and Joe, and where we just really talk about the experiential event marketing industry. I use those terms interchangeably. Get it all out one time. I use them. I interchange between those a lot, but um, it's about the community. It's about the community that we're building, not only here but in our various spaces, from our 9 to 5s to our community groups that we have, the things we do outside of that. So again, as you join in, ask questions, drop them in the chat. Let us know also what city you're watching from. That's super important, so we know what cities we're touching, because we started at 12 on the East Coast, but you got your LA folk, you
yeah.
got your people down south. So
Shoot, we had people chiming in, from the UK as well at one point and stuff.
oh
So
yeah,
it's one of those things that's great to have this type of platform. I think right now, and I could be wrong, and we could go into something of a totally different thing than experiential, but the LinkedIn platform is actually really, really, like, I use it quite a bit in contrast to the other platforms that are
yeah,
out there for social media, right? And I know that LinkedIn also kind of has a stigma around it of like, it always is just this positive, happy-go-lucky, let me share all my accolades type thing, and
yeah,
that's great, but there's also the element of like being really raw and authentic. Like sometimes you
yeah,
see on Instagram that it's a little fabricated, or people are only posting their highlight reels while everyone compares it to their behind the scenes. That old adage. But with
yeah.
LinkedIn, there's quite a rawness to it, and I really like that there's this ability to do LinkedIn Live and just have like a real live chat with one another. So, I'm glad that we can do this.
Yeah, I always say like LinkedIn and also Threads right now is kind of like the wild, wild west. You can really get great engagement when you share the content that feels natural to you. And so I really am loving LinkedIn's kind of push to just be a little bit more natural there. And what's crazy is that they are adding more of a short form video content. So you may see this episode in the video content coming soon. They're in beta testing with it right now, so I'm pushing for us to try to be a part of that as we create more content and more
Yeah,
video
yeah.
things from there. So
Well,
yeah,
I thought it would be good. I know this episode, this month, we're doing a little bit of a shorter one
yeah,
for everyone that's tuning in, and it's due to the reasons of, we know that it's kind of ramping up to be busy, and also just to kind of go into all those events that are going on right now, when really to dive right into the evolution of engagement. I
yeah,
mean, HubSpot Inbound is going on, big one,
mhm,
right?
mhm,
You got
yep,
TwitchCon that starts tomorrow.
yeah,
Obviously, that's a great one. You go further into just the end of September, Ad Week, Brand Week is next week. And now, for anyone that's out of the experiential and event world, Ad Week, Brand Week is like the culmination of it's like almost like a Cannes Lion, but almost a little bit more exclusive because it's truly, your media, your traditional, your digital, it encompasses all of advertising. And so experiential and event really are only touched on quite literally not that much there.
Yeah.
But I think it's ever growing, and that's what's really, really amazing. But that event happens, once a year. It's
Yeah.
I think it's in Arizona this year, and it's not a cheap one to go to either. It is a pricey endeavor.
Hey, a lot of these conferences are, but that, the value is there and the connection is there. I wish I would have set some time to get to TwitchCon. I don't think that I'll be able to make it up or over to it. And definitely Ad Week, Brand Week. We know that's going to be a really good one as well. And yeah, these events, like, again, they're places where you can not only connect, but learn some of the latest trends, how things are shifting in the event marketing space, what are brands doing, how they showing up, how they're spending their dollars from a sponsorship, but also a great place to catch up on case studies and to see what has happened recently. So, and I think, like, you mentioned earlier that when we were connecting that there was an event or conference you went to recently, and it sparked this idea about what our show and conversation will be about today. And that's part of the evolution of engagement is the audience and how the audience is shifting in events and what they expect. Gen Z expects one thing, millennials expect one thing. How do you service all of those demographics at your event if you are at a place where there's a lot of demos in one place? What do you do?
Yeah, I mean that is the question, at hand. I think it was funny. I was having a conversation with a few people at this event. It was called Skift Meetings Forum. Skift was a podcast that was on a little bit ago, and her name's Andrea Doyle, and she was putting together the podcast and everything. And then Skift had this event, and a few people, obviously are there to speak on panels and whatnot. But there was a great turnout of event professionals, and at one point there was a breakout, like kind of like a, breaking bread of like the table that you were sitting at. And there was a breakout session to chat about this particular topic of like, how do you connect with different audiences of different demographics? And, the topic was interesting. I mean, when you think about it, I can reference one moment last year in 2023 at an event called Advertising Week, not Ad Week, Brand Week, but Advertising Week in New York. And I remember seeing panelists, the speakers, go up on stage and bring their child, who happened to be a Gen Alpha, literally, that's my niece's age, that is like 10 years old, go up on stage and talk about how they connect with brands, which was, to this day, which was, I think this was October of 2023, I still remember that exact panel because I'd never seen anyone do that where they're bringing their kid up on stage and actually talk about it. And then two, it was a pivotal moment in where you're realizing, oh my God, we already have to start thinking about Gen Alpha to say where you're going. So to answer your question a little bit even more thoroughly, I don't know if there's a silver bullet there,
Yeah. What do you think what are some key kind of components of an event or an activation, or even just as a brand approaches certain sponsorships? If their target audience is Gen Z, what are some key things that they need to be trying to pull through?
Sponsorship's an interesting one though, Marcus. Would you say? I would say they're so, Gen Z is so ingrained into that TikTok lifestyle influencing type of marketing, right? Whereas millennials, which I know you and I fit into that bucket.
Don't be telling people our age, man.
I mean, look, the things we share on LinkedIn should probably be its own thing.
I'm definitely not Gen Z with the low fade. I got the Doc Rivers low fade, so I'm definitely not.
I mean, hey, look, if people want to think I'm definitely not Gen X or a baby boomer, but I don't know. I mean, I think that question is a case by case
Yeah.
when it comes to a brand and what they're trying to achieve, right? So if you notice, the Taco Bell had that senior living cantina experience that they did recently,
Yep.
and I thought that was an interesting dichotomy between, clearly it was going towards the Gen Z slash millennial,
Mm-hmm.
but the actual activation itself
Yeah.
was called senior living. Like it had all these interactive or multi-sensory experiences that really were like what you would see at a senior living community or something. So
Mhm.
you
Yeah.
almost kind of go like, oh well, that's an interesting tactic.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
same thing with when you look at what emotions are being evoked. Experiential has all that an emotion to be tied to it,
Yeah.
activation of some sort. Well, nostalgia is huge in the millennial community. You know
Yep.
what I mean? Like
Yeah.
how many times do we see that? And I'm just kind of curious what brands are doing, and I'm curious what you're seeing too.
Yeah, I mean, you hit it right on the head. Like when you think about millennials and what they're looking for from activations and events, it really is kind of that element of some nostalgia, and something that ties back to a memory that they may have. And it may invoke them to purchase.
Right.
Again, the goal of most events and activations is truly like brand awareness and making sure that people have, either they're acquiring, the brand is trying to acquire new consumers or customers, or they're trying to keep the customers or at least bring them back through. All, it's all funnel work. And I think that that's one key element there for millennials. But also when you look at Gen Z, like they kind of have, they want to do a little nostalgia too, because they feel like that's cool to see something from the past, quote unquote, be brought to today, and it is kind of revamped, and they want to be a part of that. It's like a cool thing for them to have that. I think
Well,
definitely the tech too, like making sure tech is
yeah.
ingrained into the space.
I mean, Marcus, even just kind of pulling it up really quick. I mean, Gen Z is typically 1997 to 2012.
Yeah.
Well, on that 97 right there, if you're born in the year 2000, you're literally entering the workforce. Like that's where it's kind of interesting, because now it's already, they're 24 years old if you're born in 2020.
Yeah.
There is a nostalgia there. There could easily be a brand that looks at something and goes, this is who I want to attract, and they're
Mhm.
entering the workforce in entry level jobs. They tend to have more of a focus on that work life balance too,
Yeah.
which I know millennials have that mindset as
We
well.
do.
But it's key. I mean, that's where like a brand has to focus or align what their vision is or what their goals are, and
Yeah.
the KPIs that they want to hit with that targeted demographic, and
Yeah.
then the activation or the multi-sensory experience like to really resonate with them.
Yeah. It's like the audience is definitely being able to, especially like a millennial, they definitely have that work-life balance kind of thing about themselves. But when you think about events, like they want to be able to see themselves in that brand and say, okay, I do want to purchase that product or look at that product. So as well as, we chatted about it briefly, but your Generation X and boomers, like they are still should be a part of some of the brands kind of
100%.
yeah.
I think that's a missed. Like I personally think, and look, I'm not a boomer, but I think they're the ones that have the financial security and backing and ability to, if it's a brand that's going all out, it's like, why not target the
Yeah.
baby boomers? A lot of them are nearing retirement or already in retirement, really.
Yeah, yeah. And I think so. When we were talking about this as a discussion point, I was like, yeah, but if the goal is to get new consumers, why would I go to a generation that is kind of set in what they buy, they're set in what they purchase? But then I had to think, I'm like, there are some brands that can attract those audiences and those demographics. I don't know if I really would like to look up the data on this, but like your Tesla drivers, like how many of your Tesla drivers are truly millennials? Are there Generation X or boomers like, you know what, I'm gonna buy a Tesla, like because they feel it's innovative and they are okay with the change and the shift there? or even the number have purchased like EV cars or certain types of cars because, you know, they want something new and they want to, be a part of that time. And I think that that's interesting to see, like those two demographics still have a high buying power. They still are within kind of the evolution of engagement and how brands connect with them.
I agree. I think there's leveling and varying degrees of how you can interact with your demographic or your targeted demographic. I have to say, again, as a millennial, some of the best experiences I've been are super simple, super
Yep.
simple, and have like a really great minimalistic, execution to it. But I I would say maybe a baby boomer has, to your point, has ties or set in their ways of like a certain brand that they resonate with or connect.
Mhm.
Well, there's no reason why that brand can't do something really simple and really minimal to attract that person and or
Yep.
keep that
Yep.
person's attention. So there's obviously all different efforts, but yeah, I think it's interesting, man,
Yep.
with the different generations and how they go to experiential.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, you look at something we were talking about earlier, like Austin City Limits, and Austin City Limits is coming up, and even like when I look at festivals, they have diverse their lineup so
They
much. A lot of them have where they go across the whole, not only race demo but age demo, just to widen the gap. They want multi generational groups of people to come together. They want the families to be like, I'm going over to see Dua Lipa, where I'm going over to see, so and so. Like I can't think of it,
That is a great point, Marcus.
but
I plan on heading there for a weekend too, and I think there's Blink 182, there's Tyla, there's God, now I'm drawing a blank, Jeezy, and like
yeah,
there's such a diverse selection of people that are of varying, you know, if you're 22 years old, there's someone you're going to see, and then if you're 40, I I always like to reference the Super Bowl show with Kendrick, Dr. Dre, Eminem. What was that? Was that 2 years ago now,
yeah,
or
2 years, and Snoop Dogg, I think.
yeah, and then 50 Cent made like the appearance and stuff. And
Yeah.
I can remember this moment. It's personal of Joe Rivers. My parents texted like the family group chat,
Yeah.
and my parents were like, "Oh, what is this? This is not our show. Like, who is this?" Yet my siblings, who are in the millennial bracket, so oldest one almost 40, and then me,
Yeah.
32 at that point or something like that. Like we were all like, "Oh, this is amazing. This is what we
Yeah.
grew up on. This is
Right.
amazing."
Right.
And then the younger generation below us, Gen Z, at that time they were really interested in that. You know what I mean? They loved it too. So I'm like, isn't that crazy how that experience is just varies?
Yeah, it does. It does. It's like, and again, it's just as a brand, as you look at your demographic and you look at your audience, of course, you all want Gen Z, but as you think about the the buying power, but also thinking about who can kind of like there's certain industries that it's kind of beneficial to be able to appeal to two audiences and be able to make moves on both. If that's hotels, if that's cars, like if I was a car company right now, I'm definitely pushing Gen Z and millennial drivers because millennials are parents and they have Gen Z or they have Gen Alpha, and you want to make sure that I want the parent to feel like, oh, this car is fly, and if I need to take it from you because you're not driving correctly, I'll drive it myself. But at the same time, you want the Gen Z to be like, yeah, you want to have a car that's appealing to them.
Right.
Got a question. How should brands show up to these multi-generational events to engage across all audiences?
I I'm gonna answer, candidly. I don't think a brand should show up to engage all audience,
Mhm.
because then in my opinion you're just throwing paint at the wall, and
Yeah.
while that can look like the thing that's behind you right now, which is cool of its own thing, I don't know if that's always the purpose. It's like
Yeah.
it's the why. It's the why. That's what I was talking about at that Skift meeting
Yeah.
this past week, we were talking about like there has to be that why. Like, why are you showing up?
Yeah.
Because I will tell you this, the Gen Z and the millennial, us, we can kind of see through the BS when a brand is just
Oh,
talking instead of
yeah.
walking the walk, you know, and it's like are you going to go and show up at an event, or are you going to create your own experience or whatever that may be? And are you going to have your targeted generation or demographic that you're actually going toward? Because I don't know if you can cover 40, 50, 60 years of different generations and attract them all at the same time. I don't think it's possible, but yeah.
No, I think that like from an event experience standpoint, it's very hard to do that unless you are owning the space, right? Like it is your conference and you kind of can really manipulate the experiences. But if you're in a sponsorship space, very hard. I think that of course with commercial, we're not talking about that side of the industry, but like the commercial side, the advertising side, a little bit easier to do that. Just with talent can help drive that as well. So great question. And yeah,
Yeah.
that was definitely a good one.
You know, I know we wanted to touch on something to highlight our friend over at Brand Innovators, Jeff
Yeah.
Fortman. You know, they're at Brand Innovators. They're coming up in October, I believe it is October 8th,
Mhm.
an experiential leadership, you know, summit,
Yeah.
which is really cool. I wanted to highlight something that I hope everyone in our industry is really seeing, and this was also touched on the Skift meeting that I went to, is the presence our industry is having. That more and more people are realizing what events, what experiential, how we're part of the marketing mix now. And
Yeah.
wanted to get your thoughts, Marcus, if you know this being literally called the evolution of engagement, is it interesting, and is it like kind of inspiring you to see how more and more people are recognizing our industry?
Yeah, like, well, first off, shout out to Jeff. Definitely trying to make it over to New York to come to the conference that day. Got to shift some stuff around because it's on a Tuesday. Jeff, let's talk about it. No, I'm just messing with you, but yeah, I definitely want to make it out. Yes, the marketing mix, like, there used to be this space where it's like we have to do guerrilla stunting marketing. It's like, well, you got your 360 should consist of some type of experience. Now, does Gorilla always work? Yeah. But can it be a food truck that pulls up in the middle of Times Square and does something random there? Yeah. But can it also be a nice built out 30 by 30 experience, full on engagement, touch points, all that? Yes, all three matter to the wheel of the experience or the wheel of the campaign. And so I think that I'm excited to see again that evolution of engagement. People are not only watching on social, they're not only doing things through digital podcasts, etc., but they're also saying, all right, if once I get to Austin city limits, yeah, I'm going to the shows, but I'm about to go stop by every booth and go see every little thing. And even if you're not in the industry, you want giveaways, you want to see what big brands are doing. If their setup is huge, you're going over there and you're going to go check it out. Like it's just a natural thing to do. And the ROI in that moment is not only the earned and the visibility, but if you touch that consumer the right way and you connect with them the right way, you have a new consumer. And I think it's important to definitely have a call to action as soon as you come out of that. The data game and the ability for technology, someone shouldn't leave your space and you don't have information on them, or at least be able to target them in some kind of way, even if it's through the events outreach or whatever. But like, they leave your space, you got to be able to figure out a way. How can I just tell them about my product one more time? One more time. Like it's all about that one more time versus them leaving and it's like, all right, cool. And it's the law of averages,
I think it's really great to see how much our industry has had a larger presence, and people recognize it. I mean, you're seeing CMOs obviously look at like how do they allocate a budget to just experiential or just an event or just a conference that they're willing to attend or be a part of or create their own.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, a lot of things are varying degrees of, hey, what's happening in the market, whether it's the economic, whether it's the political landscape, whether there's something going on. Obviously, that influences budgets and just spend and everything. But when you look at some of the data, I mean, people are traveling more than ever right now.
Yep.
People are spending more on experiences. Again, we tie back to generation. The millennial and Gen Z. I actually just saw this data point recently that they are more apt to go and look at experiences than they are material wealth, right? So like the baby boomers, Gen X, obviously had that mindset of like a bigger house, accumulate more things, whereas the younger generation at the moment is more apt to experiences and stuff like that. So I thought that was interesting. But.
Yeah. I that's just a behavior change, right? Like it's a change in behavior. It's it's funny. Like I'll go to my parents' house when I'm home in Texas. I'll go out in the garage and I'm like, we don't need this. Like, let it go. Like, it is just small stuff. But at the same time, it's like, it's just a different mindset of it's about things. It's about these memories tied to things where our memories have shifted to like more of experiences and moments. And probably the phone has a lot to do with that and all the photos. But yeah, I think that's kind of a interesting just change in behavior,
Absolutely. I mean, look, I know that this dialogue can be really expansive, when it comes to the generation experiences, but I really enjoy just being able to talk on this topic because it's ever evolving, it's literally evolving at all times. So, we'll see. But I mean, to know that some of the events that are coming up, like I said, I plan on attending that weekend too. For ACL, there's IMEX that's coming up for the more of like the conference trade show aspect of things. TwitchCon happening, Inbound happening. There's a plethora coming up, and that's just it. And that's us just touching the surface of October right there. So
yeah, I mean, we definitely will be sharing our shows for the next 2 months, and then December we got to do our our 2024 wrap of experiential. I think I got something for us. I think we can pull something really unique off there.
Well, Marcus, that also wouldn't that be our 1 year anniversary?
1 year. Come on now, Joe. 1 year. They said that, I don't know who they is, but the DJ Khaled voice of they said we couldn't do that, and we did. LinkedIn.
I mean, look, it's pretty good to. You and I have only really met up in person at Cannes Lion and Art Basel. Obviously, we've known each other for some time, but these events are if that doesn't prove itself.
Yeah.
That when you meet up with someone that at an event, and then it goes further beyond that event to create a LinkedIn Live like this. I mean, come on, that's it.
That's what it's about. I know we are wrapping up here, and it's been an amazing catch up with you, and I'm glad we were able to talk. And again, for those that joined, thank you again for joining the Evolution of Engagement. Again, this is a community based around the event marketing space, from those vendors to people who work on the production side, to the agency, to the brand. You're all supported. We know what it takes to really build an idea and bring it to life for people to interact with. It's not an easy journey. And so I know that's what really matters here. As we close it out, I wanted to touch on a couple things that just happened truly in our industry. Last month in New York, Fanatic Fest, which was the brand Fanatics, huge in the sports space, jerseys, trading cards, all that kind of stuff. They had a festival conference festival in New York where they had so many talent, all of the sports brands adjacent, as well as some of the sports teams in the New York area were there. They built all these different experiences. And again, multi-generational, your parents, your Gen X, millennial, Gen Z, like everybody's there. Every type of celebrity came through. So really huge. I expect to see that kind of continue to grow you know, and be a cool melting pot for the industry. I expect them to do a little bit more of job development as well as kind of creating some more resource spaces there. But I don't know if it was the first year or it's very early on, but for it to, you know, catch the attention that I saw this year, that was amazing. And then also in the WNBA, playoffs are already kicked off. But one huge thing that just happened is that they are expanding and they got a team going to Portland. So I think that the team in Portland is going to be, again, huge. It's Oregon. You know, Nike's there, you know, the colleges are there. So it's definitely going to be some impact and drive some business in that state. So I'm pretty excited about that, to see the W kind of continue to find ways to be innovative and continue to build their brand, you know, and build on top of the players who are, you know, driving that visibility. I saw a stat that this was the highest year of watched television for the WNBA. I think it's like 300% growth. It's crazy.
Wow. I mean, I would believe it. I mean, look, man, I always love hearing your updates on that side of this. I actually want to even do a little mini call out to someone who I've known for quite some time, even before I even really entered experiential.
Yeah.
She's created her own influencing brand, right? Based here in Buffalo. Her name is Madeline Hall, and she's been utilizing her brand. It's called Buffalo Food Slang. That's what you gotta, if anyone wants to go and look at it, like they can. But literally the brand itself, what she's created, has now been doing like brand partnerships at the Bills tailgate games or any of the games across the country. Like she'll go to the games and have these partnerships and throw these almost like events, right?
Yeah.
It's amazing to see what people are doing in the sports space, regardless of what sport it is, what gender, it doesn't matter. Like, I just think it's really, really remarkable what more and more people, whether it's their own influencer brand or a brand itself, that's showing up and just capitalizing on those moments, because there's just so much viewership, engagement, everything. So that's my mini call out to an old friend. But either way, I agree with you, man. So that's cool.
Yeah. A couple other things that are happening. Of course, college football is off to a great start, but recently in Dallas, they opened a new type of, it's similar to the Sphere in Las Vegas, which I kind of want to go to Vegas to see the Sphere. Have you seen it?
Yeah, I've been inside it a couple times, actually. It's really cool.
Did you see it during the event, or?
I went for a movie. It was like this, you know, all about nature and just the world movie.
That was probably like, ooh, that was really good.
That was cool. That was cool. And then I thought I went there for a show as well, but now I'm trying to think. I can't forget.
Well, this place in Dallas is called Cosm. I believe that's how you say it. But they showed the Texas versus Michigan game, which was really huge. Texas ended up winning. Go Longhorns. And it's definitely kind of like taking on that same way to watch television or watch, especially those high def experiences, but in, you know, that dome setting, which is interesting, because before the Sphere, like, you would probably you wouldn't really go to the movie theater. You probably would, but like, there's very few like spaces where you can go and sit up and look at the screen like that. It's a lot of nature or museums that have those spaces. Now they're starting to become common, and it's in a sports space. So that's something else happening in the news. You know, we mentioned Super Bowl earlier, but they've announced the Super Bowl for 2024 and 2025, excuse me. And Kendrick Lamar is going to be performing. Of course, there was a lot of uproar.
By the way, I think I messed up what I said earlier. Then it wasn't. I messed up because I think I said Kendrick, even though I knew subconsciously that was supposed to be 2025. Because one I was referencing was Eminem, Dr. Dre.
Yeah. Who else was there? Eminem, Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg.
And I mean,
50 Cent, but they called it something. They were calling it like the LA. I don't know.
Yeah, I forgot. But that's funny.
Kendrick is 2025. I'm interested in seeing which brands go to Super Bowl, but we'll get there. Again, highly anticipated 2024 experiential rap hosted by Joe and myself. Be ready. We're going to come with some heat. But we have 2 more shows that we're going to close out the year. Yes, Joe, I'm putting that on us. You accept it. October show, we'll drop the date here very soon, as well as our November show before the holidays begin, because one thing about the Thanksgiving and some of the holidays throughout the rest of the year, a lot of pop-up experiences, a lot of pumpkin spice latte events, and all of that. So we want to make sure that we touch on just, the holiday experience. A lot of people love those times as well. So we want to make sure we share that. So again, thank you, Joe. Thank you for everyone who joined. The replay is going to happen here shortly. So those who can catch it. But again, another episode of the Evolution of Engagement.
Appreciate you, Marcus, and everyone for joining, and looking forward to the next one.
Oh yeah, let's do it.
All right, thanks.
Peace.